Hsin lived centuries ago, yet his message resonates powerfully in our modern world. He speaks to the seeker who has grown weary of searching, to the soul longing for truth beyond concepts. Today's journey will transform how you see yourself and reality itself. We will explore the nature of the false self, the practice of direct perception, the dissolution of duality, and the ultimate surrender into what is. These are not mere philosophical ideas. They are lived experiences waiting to unfold within you.
Hsin begins with a radical truth. The person you believe yourself to be does not exist. This I you defend, nurture, and identify with is a mental construction, a story woven from memories, beliefs, and conditioning. He says, every man is born twice. The first birth is physical. The second is the arising of the I. This second birth creates the illusion of a separate self, an individual entity navigating a world of other separate entities. But Hsin reveals this as the root of all suffering. Consider your own experience. When you say, I am anxious, I am successful, or I am seeking, who is this I? If you look closely, you'll find only thoughts appearing and disappearing in awareness. There is no solid, unchanging self to be found, only the continuous flow of experience. Society, culture, and education reinforce this false identity. From childhood, we are taught to identify with our name, our body, our family, our achievements. Layer after layer, the ego is constructed until we completely forget our original nature, the pure, boundless awareness that witnesses all experience without being touched by it. Hsin asks us to recognize this, not through more thinking, but through direct seeing. When thoughts arise, observe them. When emotions surface, feel them without identifying. In this space of observation, you begin to recognize what you truly are, not the passing phenomena, but the unchanging presence aware of all phenomena. This recognition is not a new achievement. It is simply the acknowledgement of what has always been the case. You have never been the separate self. You have always been the infinite awareness dreaming itself into form.
Hsin's path is one of direct cognition, immediate perception free from the distorting lens of thought. He teaches that true understanding does not come from accumulating knowledge, but from removing the obstacles that cloud our vision. Imagine looking at a mountain through a dirty window. You see the mountain, but your perception is colored by the stains and scratches on the glass. Our minds are like this window, covered with judgments, beliefs, fears, and desires. Direct cognition is cleaning the window completely until nothing stands between awareness and reality. This requires a radical shift from thinking about life to experiencing it directly. Most people live entirely in their thoughts, rarely touching the raw immediacy of the present moment. Even beautiful experiences are quickly converted into memories, concepts, and stories. Hsin invites us to stop this habitual interpretation. When you see a tree, don't immediately think tree or recall past associations. Simply see the colors, shapes, movement, light. This pure perception, before thought labels and categorizes, is direct cognition. In this state, a profound stillness arises, not the stillness of a quiet mind, but the deeper stillness that exists even when thoughts appear. This is the silence of pure being, the ground from which all experience emerges and into which all experience dissolves. Hsin describes this as returning to the source. Like a river flowing back to the ocean, consciousness returns to its origin when it stops flowing outward through thoughts and sensations. In this return, you discover your true nature, vast, peaceful, complete. The practice is simple, but requires dedication. Throughout your day, pause regularly and observe without judgment. Notice the tendency to label, interpret, and react. Gently release these movements of mind and rest in the bare awareness that perceives all things. Over time, this practice reveals a startling truth. You are not in the world. The world appears in you. All experiences, thoughts, sensations, perceptions arise within the boundless space of awareness that you are.
One of Hsin's most profound teachings concerns the nature of duality. He reveals that the fundamental division we perceive between self and other, subject and object, observer and observed, is an illusion created by thought. This illusion begins innocently. As consciousness arises, it appears to split into knower and known, experiencer and experience. But Hsin shows that this split is conceptual, not actual. In reality, there is only one seamless totality, expressing itself as both subject and object. Consider your direct experience right now. You might think, I am aware of my body, creating a division between awareness and body. But look closely. Is there actually a separate I standing apart from bodily sensations? Or is there simply awareness and sensation arising as one undivided experience? Hsin calls the recognition of this unity passing through the Great Gate. On one side of the gate, you perceive yourself as a separate individual in a world of other separate things. On the other side, you recognize the One appearing as the many, the single reality dancing as infinite forms. This recognition dissolves the sense of isolation and separation that causes so much suffering. When you see that all apparent others are expressions of the same consciousness you are, how can there be conflict? When you recognize that all experiences are movements within your own being, how can there be resistance? Hsin teaches that this understanding transforms how we relate to life. Instead of constantly defending a separate self against a threatening world, we rest as the whole. Problems don't disappear, but they lose their sting because there is no separate person to be truly threatened. This is not a belief to adopt, but a truth to be directly realized. The practice involves questioning every apparent division. When you feel separate from another person, pause and look. Can you find an actual boundary between your consciousness and theirs? Or is there only the appearance of two in the reality of one? Similarly, when you resist an experience, investigate. Who is resisting what? Is there truly a separate you who can stand apart from experience? Or is the resistance itself just another experience arising in awareness, part of the totality, not separate from it? As this investigation deepens, the sense of being a separate self begins to dissolve, not through effort or force, but through clear seeing. Like mist evaporating in sunlight, the illusion of separation fades when exposed to the light of awareness.
Hsin points us toward a radical acceptance he calls recognizing what is, the perfection of reality exactly as it appears in this moment. This teaching challenges our deeply ingrained habit of judging experience as good or bad, wanted or unwanted. We spend our lives trying to change what is into what should be, never fully accepting the present moment as it is. But Hsin reveals that this resistance to what is the source of suffering. The present moment is always perfect, not in the sense that everything is pleasant, but in the sense that it is exactly as it is. Fighting reality is like arguing with the weather. You may have strong opinions, but the rain falls regardless. True peace comes from surrendering this fight, not passive resignation, but active acceptance, saying yes to life as it unfolds, even when it unfolds in unexpected or unwanted ways. Hsin uses the metaphor of water to illustrate this teaching. Water flows effortlessly around obstacles, taking the shape of whatever container holds it, always moving toward its natural destination. It never resists what is. It harmonizes with reality perfectly. This is the principle the Taoists call Wei Wu Wei, action through non-action. Not forcing, not controlling, but allowing life to move through you naturally. When you stop trying to be someone you're not, stop trying to make life conform to your preferences, an effortless intelligence takes over. This doesn't mean you become passive or stop engaging with life. Rather, your actions arise from a deeper place, not from ego's desperate attempts to secure itself, but from the natural responsiveness of consciousness to each moment's requirements. Hsin encourages us to practice this acceptance in small ways. When an unwanted emotion arises, instead of pushing it away, welcome it. When plans don't work out, instead of complaining, become curious about what is actually happening. When someone behaves in ways you don't like, instead of resisting, observe with compassion. Each moment of acceptance weakens the ego's grip and strengthens your connection to what is. Over time, you discover that what is not something separate from you. It is the present moment expression of your own being. This realization brings profound peace, not because life becomes perfect according to your preferences, but because you stop demanding that it be different than it is. You recognize that every experience, pleasant or unpleasant, is a sacred expression of the One appearing as this moment.
Hsin's practical teaching centers on what he calls deep listening, a state of receptive awareness that goes far beyond ordinary hearing. Most of us live in constant mental noise. Even in physical silence, the mind churns with thoughts, memories, plans, and judgments. We rarely experience true quietness, the profound silence that exists beneath all mental activity. Deep listening begins by turning attention away from this mental noise toward the silence from which it arises, not by forcing thoughts to stop, but by shifting focus from the content of thought to the aware space in which thoughts appear. Hsin guides us to listen not just with ears, but with our entire being. Listen to the space between sounds. Listen to the stillness beneath activity. Listen to the awareness that notices both sound and silence. This practice can be done anywhere, anytime. Right now, as you listen to these words, can you also notice the awareness listening? Can you sense the silent presence that receives all experience without being changed by it? As deep listening develops, something remarkable happens. The boundary between inner and outer begins to dissolve. You realize that the awareness listening to external sounds is the same awareness noticing internal thoughts. There is only one listening, consciousness attending to its own expressions. Hsin teaches that in deep listening, the separate self temporarily disappears. There is just hearing happening, seeing happening, thinking happening, all arising in the spacious awareness you are. This is not a special meditative state requiring perfect conditions. It is available in any moment when you shift from being lost in thought to resting as awareness itself. Walking down the street, washing dishes, talking with a friend, every moment offers an opportunity for deep listening. The benefits are immediate and profound. Deep listening brings peace because it pulls you out of the mind's endless conflicts into the simplicity of what is. It brings clarity because you begin to perceive reality directly rather than through the distorting filter of concepts. It brings joy because you recognize your true nature as the boundless awareness in which all experience dances. Hsin encourages making deep listening your primary practice. More important than any technique or method is this simple returning again and again to the silent awareness that you are.
Perhaps Hsin's most liberating teaching is that there is nothing to seek and nowhere to arrive. Spiritual seeking itself is a trap, a subtle way the ego maintains itself by projecting fulfillment into a future that never comes. The seeker believes, when I become enlightened, then I'll be free. When I realize my true nature, then I'll be happy. When I finally get it, then everything will be okay. But Wu Xin reveals this as a trap. The very act of seeking reinforces the illusion of being a separate someone who lacks something. He points out that you are already what you're seeking. Awareness is not something you will become. It is what you already are. Freedom is not a future achievement. It is your present reality, only obscured by the belief that it's elsewhere. This doesn't mean spiritual practice is useless. Practice serves to remove obstacles and dissolve illusions, but it cannot give you what you already are. It's like cleaning a mirror. The cleaning doesn't create the reflection. It simply reveals what was always there. Wu Xin invites a profound shift from seeking to recognizing. Instead of trying to get somewhere, simply notice where you already are. Instead of trying to become awakened, recognize the awareness that is already awake. This recognition may feel anticlimactic at first. The ego expects awakening to be dramatic, bells ringing, lights flashing, permanent bliss. But Wu Xin's awakening is the simplest thing. The recognition that you are the awareness in which all experience appears. Right now, without doing anything, you are aware. This awareness is not something you achieve. It is what you fundamentally are. It was here before thoughts arose this morning. It will be here after thoughts cease tonight. It is the constant presence underlying all change. When seeking drops away, something beautiful emerges, the simple enjoyment of being. No longer driven by the need to get somewhere or become someone, you relax into the present moment. Life continues with its ups and downs, but you no longer need it to be different than it is. Wu Xin describes this as returning home, not traveling to a distant destination, but recognizing you never left home. The boundless awareness you are is always here, always now, always complete.